My name is Chase McCurdy, Chase R. McCurdy, artist and founder of 33 Gallery. 33 Gallery is a natural outgrowth of my studio practice, the desire to have a place to work as well as to have a place to share work where I don't have to be reliant upon other spaces or institutions to have opportunities to share work, to invite people in, to talk about the practice. So in that way, it's a place to really do what we got to do based on our own value system. And in many ways, like the brother Nipsey Hussle, rest in eternal power, this is very much, Nipsey Hussle is to the Marathon store and the Marathon brand. Chase McCurdy is to 33 Gallery. The basic idea there with that comparison to Nip Hussle is ownership of what one creates. Recognizing at certain points the practice and my work will be seen on a broader scale. The desire is to maintain that value. Entering a space of commerciality with the work has been a tough one for me, but when I think about the ability to create a nest egg with these very real spiritual outpourings, it becomes much easier to engage in that, knowing that we'll be able to capture as much of that value as possible for myself, for my family, and those generations behind us. What we publicize for the most part are classes and exhibitions of work by our students, whether they be from ages 6 to 16, 6 to their 80s, to early 90s. We've worked with a broad range of individuals. So we've used this space to elevate the possibilities that come from engaging what we think of as everyday people with the art process. But the long-term plan, as we look at 5 years out, 10 years out, 15 years out, is to have an institution that really kind of stands on its own. We will engage in the exhibition of contemporary artists when the time is right. We will expand into publishing and other things when the time is right. But we don't want to force that, right? Much like I've done so many things over the years to earn money outside of putting the pressure on my artwork and my art practice. In many ways, I'm not taking that pressure on myself to continue to fund this as it can naturally grow. And so we're not forced to, once again anyway, compromise our values just for the sake of being able to survive. My goal is to continue the work in a spiritual fashion. I care deeply about this practice that I feel very much chose me to create a financial foundation for myself and my family, growing the gallery, growing the business, but continuing to stay humble and simple as we grow, as money increases, the energy of money increases, and not allowing that to change who we are. I feel very fortunate that I've been able to practice for 10 years plus now without really receiving too much attention. When you're young, you want the attention, you want to be seen. And being able to get through that, maintaining a practice, learning to practice for things much more than that, you realize that once attention and these kind of things come, it becomes very hard to make changes. Money doesn't change people for the most part. I believe money and these things kind of tend to amplify who we are. So while we're in our struggle, while we're month to month, while we're busting ass to make this happen, keep the lights on, keep the bills paid, that grounding is allowing us to have that foundation really strong so that all the externals will not have an impact in that way. You recognize that being in a public space, being in society, and being elevated as an artist, so in a way, which requires things like press come with it, things like this interaction come with that. You have to do the work beforehand to be spiritually right. My grounding is that ancestral grounding, familial grounding, my grounding in the West Side and why I do what I do, who I do what I do it for. We hope that will allow us the ability to stay true to who we are. When I think of my history Once again, the immediate familial, my blood elders. And then when I think of my history being related to the stolen and enslaved Africans that were brought to this place that we call North America, the United States of America, the embracing of that history, of that these individuals who were stolen, these spirits who were stolen and tortured, but who were able to thrive, not only survive but thrive spiritually and live through so that we may be here. Going through that is hard. We're talking days, hours of tears, of just telling them I'm sorry for what they went through. But at the same time, getting through that creates a confidence, a power, an ability for all of this in the day-to-day, this material to fall off. You know, I don't embrace my identity. I don't embrace who I am for any sort of external show. I don't use my identity to be seen. I don't use my history to gain. I use it to ground. And being so deeply in touch with that, I feel I can't be touched. My connection is my people. The historic West Side itself is the traditionally segregated area of Las Vegas in its early development where African Americans were relegated to living. My grandfather, my mother's father, Mr. Herman Moody, who recently made transition at 98 years old, first arrived to Las Vegas in 1939 with his father when he was 17. My father's people got here in the 50s. Up until the early 70s, Las Vegas was segregated, where if you were black, you couldn't live anywhere else outside of this community. So this is just that soil where our people made beautiful lives, where we came, like these great migrationary periods that we talk about. We came from the South. 3 of my grandparents came from Mississippi, and my mom's mom came from Oklahoma. All coming for better lives, whether it be working opportunities, escaping the terrorism of Jim Crow South. These people chose to come here, and then their families came with them. And so we really built from the ground up a community. My grandfather tells me, the house that we have over on the Moody house, my grandfather would tell me about being here in the West Side and having to take mesquite trees out the ground, how hard mesquite trees are and all of that, right? When I think about it, I have these group of mesquite wood carvings I've done, and when they happened, there was no conscious thought there. Much of my practice, it happened and I let it go. But then I'm like, oh, that's deep in my soul, right? It's who we are. And so, while I was in other cities, working on my practice, moving and shaking, doing the thing, there was a point I started to feel this apathy spiral. I think a lot of us may feel, oh, the world's this and that, but I can't do anything. Well, it's like, no, you can choose to do something, and the way that you can do something is go to the place where you have a foundation of sorts, fortunate to have a foundation, but you can go and really just be in a community, So it's a duty. My connection is duty, is purpose. It's the love of the people that created a community that has gone through ups and downs, but it's here. And it's our job to not create something new, but to renew what has already been. To study history, to reconcile that with our past so that we can create a future. And so that's my purpose, duty. That's why I'm in the West Side.